So hi everyone, this is Dr. Yoda Himes. I'm going to be going through an exercise today similar to what students engaging in active learning in the TIL are going to be doing so that everybody has a sense of how to approach some of the homework questions. In the TIL, each group will be given an environment, and in fact everybody on their homeworks was given an environment to think about. The example I'm going to be going through today is tropical coastal waters. I'll write that at the top of my page here. And hopefully the resolution will be okay, that you guys will be able to see this. So the first thing I want everybody to do is to think about your particular environment. We'll be doing waters here. And all of the different kinds of environments, microenvironments, that are in your environment. 50 meters down. So we'll start here. And we're going to think about some of the different aspects. So here, coastal waters are going to have access to sunlight. They're going to be having inputs from water sources, such as water draining into them from rivers. If you think about tropical coastal waters, a classic example is the Caribbean, right where the Gulf of Mexico, right where the Mississippi River comes out. You can also have inputs from land. Okay. Within this environment, let's see if we can get the focus back in. No, okay. Well, we'll just keep going. You're going to have a variety of things in each environment. So we're going to have kelp beds in this environment. Okay, we're going to have rocks. Right? In this environment, we're also going to have biotic factors like fish. Some at the surface, bigger ones deep down. We may have other types of things like eels. We can also have invertebrates like snails. Right? We're also going to have other microbes such as diatoms. Right? That's going to be found a lot up front. I'm going to draw these little circles here. And further down. We're also going to have microbes, right? We're going to have a lot of microbes up at the surface and all over. Down here we have what are called the sediments, which is the soils and rocks that form the base of a water system. Okay. Okay. So in here we can see that there are a variety of niches and microenvironments, right? So we have what we call the top layer, which I'm drawing here in red. So these are going to be the niches or microenvironments. We have the top layer. We have kind of this middle layer where some of the sunlight will penetrate, but maybe not all. And then you're going to have the lower levels. We're going to have a variety of other niches, including vertebrates, and invertebrates, such as the diatoms or the insects and snails, mollusks, clams, oysters, that kind of thing. We're going to have plants, which are niches. We're going to have rocks, the surface of rocks and the holes within rocks. The sediments are actually a niche as well. So those are some of the examples of niches where microbes might reside. So one of the first questions you're asked are, what are some of the abiotic and biotic factors that are influencing communities within these different parts of your habitat? So the first thing I think about is the sun, right? Here we're going to have light. And we're going to have the added problem with UV. And this is going to penetrate down to certain levels. Different wavelengths will penetrate further. If this is a coastal water, right, we're going to have sodium. So these brackets just indicate concentrations, but there's going to be a certain level of sodium chloride and other sea salts present all throughout this environment. Oops, NaCl. Okay. We're going to have fluctuating inputs of carbon and oxygen and other nutrients coming from our inputs. If this is the Gulf of Mexico, the Mississippi tends to have high levels of carbon coming through and nitrogen and phosphorus from the agricultural farms upstream. But once again, these are quite high, highly fluctuating. So we're going to have high carbon, we're going to say oxygen as well. So one of the things to think about up in this top layer is not only light and UV, but those are going to influence temperatures. So what you're going to have is high temps in the day and cooler temps at night. Now this is tropical, so there's going to be only so much seasonal effect, but this is just meaning fluctuating. So you have to have the microorganisms that live there have to tolerate fluctuating temperatures. The plants are going to provide carbon and oxygen during the day. The rocks are going to have minerals. There's also going to be biotic factors that are present. There'll be minerals down here. And some kinds of carbon, like CO or CH4. Simple carbons down here in the sediments. And the vertebrates are going to be providing carbon, some carbon dioxide, other waste materials like nitrogen, and so forth. Okay. The biotic factors, that are influencing are going to include things like predators. So the microbes that get eaten by fish or by other eukaryotes in this environment. So predators. We're also going to have high competition. In the upper layers, this is going to be particularly true for those organisms competing for light, but also on surfaces lower down. So high competition in association with the rocks and on the plants. Okay, so these are the abiotic factors in blue and biotic factors. And I just boxed these to make them a little bit different. Okay, then lastly, you're going to be asked, what are the major molecular adaptations that microbes in these different areas are going to need to have? So, for example, in the presence of light, you're going to have a lot of photosynthesizers, right? These are the phototrophs, and they're going to need to have the ability to make molecules such as chlorophyll, bacteria chlorophyll, or carotenoids, which are pigment sunlight harvesters. You're going to have the ability to adapt to UV, so you're going to need DNA repair systems to help combat that. The high temps during the day mean you're either going to have thermophilic abilities or thermotolerant. We'll say tolerant here. So the types of adaptations that might occur here would be membrane stability or chaperones, right? We know that all of the microbes in this environment are going to need to be halophiles. So they have to like salt. So we can think about molecular adaptations like internal solutes. The ability to store internal solutes so these organisms don't dry out like raisins. The high competition means you're going to have organisms that are very competitive and able to harvest the inputs of carbon in a very rapid manner. So one type of molecular adaptation for this might be a high affinity transporters, right? Which will allow them to take up the nutrients like iron and carbon and nitrogen and phosphorus and incorporate those very rapidly. So down here in the sediments, things are going to also be a little bit different. So you're going to need to be anaerobic. Most of the oxygen is already gone at this point. So these are going to be mostly anaerobes. So these are going to need to have the ability and the enzymes for alternative electron acceptors. They're also going to, or maybe even fermentation only of sugars, right? So these are all anaerobic modifications. The microbes that may want to stick to the rocks or the plant surfaces might be biofilm formers. So these microbes are going to need to have the ability to produce the sticky matrix that allows them to stick to these surfaces. And that's just an example of some of the adaptations that organisms will need. And this is pretty much what our groups are going to be going for. So this is going to be types of microbes and adaptations. Okay, so what you want to do when you diagram this out for your particular environment would be to do a similar exercise. Then you're going to take this information and you're going to type it up in text form and enter it into your electronic version of your homework. You'll be doing this with one described or chosen for you environment, and then you're going to get to choose your own. And that is how we're going to work for this homework, and that's it. So, oops, sorry about that. Good luck.